Welcome everybody. Welcome to another monster stream. Whoa, you gotta be kidding me. Another one of these dungeon crawlers? Absolutely. That's all I got. I'm be working on this deep sea merman thing. So, hang out. Ta-la. I'm joined by my beautiful wife, Kimberly. Hello.
Hello.
And my beautiful best friend, Daniel.
Hello.
And yeah, I'm gonna draw this. I did a crappy sketch. I didn't like the sketch that much, so now I'm looking at other deep sea creatures that look kind of goofy and like Muppets. And I'm thinking that's the angle I want to go with. So I'm refiguring my sketch idea here.
It's always the sunfish. They always look really dumb. They get that little smile.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Which one am I looking at? I don't know. It
I
just
can't
looks
see.
like the weirdest little creature. Like, I don't know. It's kind of cute in like a labyrinth way. Like it's got like a labyrinth Jim Henson face.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
See it.
Like binoculars.
Yeah, it's
Anyway.
like binocular face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so as per usual, if you have any questions, comments, tag me or, well, actually probably tag Kim in the chat at, what, you're in the chat, right?
Yeah, I'm in
Kim?
the chat.
At Kimberly.
Mhm.
And she'll pop up.
Yeah, I'm painting, so I'm not gonna see chat.
Yeah, we actually, well, Kim was at bar class, right? Kim?
Mm-hmm.
Kim was at bar class, but I was out
Yes.
with the
I don't
with the boys.
Can you,
What? Hello?
Can you hear me?
weird. It's like glitching out a little bit.
Yeah, you're
Cam,
kind of
yeah.
cutting out a little.
That's weird. You guys
Oh.
are on the same internet, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that is
Mm-hmm.
weird. But anyway, Kim was at bar class and I was out with the boys. Not my friends, my children, which are very friendly. But we were at the playground and they're in this really fun age where they're very into coming up with all different types of like stories and scenarios and things. So I just do this thing now, which is a lot of fun, to go like, did you guys just see that thing? And they're like, what was it? And I'm like, I swear to God, I just saw a goblin run behind that branch. And then they're like, let's get it, let's kill it. And I'm like, yes, let's get it. And then we go and we chase a goblin around the playground area. And then we go and try and discover where it lives, its little home and stuff. And they're like, I think I saw the goblin run this way. And then I'm like, wait a second. Holy moly, did you guys hear that? And they're like, what? And then I in my back pocket, I have like my phone. And I just play like, woo. And I'm like, oh my God, that was a werewolf. Hold on a second, guys. I'm pulling up the news. Then I go, oh no. It's a werewolf on the loose. And they're like, there's a werewolf? How close is it? And I'm like a mile away. And they're like, how close is a mile? I'm like, it's so close. And then we hear like the train in the distance, like screeching to a halt.
There
And
we
I was
go.
like, I said, oh my God, that's the werewolf. It must be on the train tracks. And they're like, we gotta run. And so we just started running all the way home. And Loic is like, keep up. Come on, run. And he said, what are you doing? Are you speed walking? To me.
He knows the term speed walking?
Yeah.
That's great.
And he's just like freaking out. And we were like run all the way. But he like is playing along too.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, we get all the way home and then we fought werewolves in the house for a while. It's very exciting. It's
They
so
met
much
the
fun.
Wolfman, or they saw the Wolfman at Clark's Trading Post, right?
Yeah, that old,
Yeah.
whatever they call him,
Stinky old goat.
curmudgeon. Yeah.
Stinky old mountain man, yeah.
Yeah, you
Old
dirty
goat.
old goat. Yeah.
Clark's Trading Post. Bring your family, chat.
Yeah, it's in New Hampshire. If anybody's up around New England, up around
Drive
New England
on.
way.
Drive on up to 32, go to Wayne's Deli, get a sandwich, spend the afternoon at Clark's, and then drive up 112 to Beaver Pond.
Yeah, head up New England way. It's north of Kentucky, if you know that area.
Kentucky. Kentucky. Wait, have you showed Kim that movie?
It's one of those movies like Ewok Adventure where you're like, hey, I want to show somebody, you know, like something from my childhood. Like, yo, let's watch Last of the Mohegans. And then you turn it on and you're like, God, I swear to God, it moved faster than this.
You're like, I can feel the PBS commercials.
Yeah, like
This
I can
movie
feel
is a
Kim
TV movie.
drifting.
Yeah. Just
We're
watch the first
losing her.
15. Watch the first 15 and then watch the last 15. That's really the secret with that movie.
It's literally that Batman meme where I'm in the car, Kim!
Yeah.
Just gun it
Wake
through
up! Stay with me. Yeah.
He's about to be burned at the stake. Kim!
I actually remember I had that on the TV at the cabin once, and I was doing other stuff, but every time the Promontory song came on, I would just wander in and watch the scene until the music stopped, and then I'd leave again. Anytime that song plays, it's worth watching, and the rest of it, you just kind of, you know, maybe I'll vacuum, watch the windows. I don't know.
I like this question from Carlo. I can't really see the chat. I have like my tablet in a weird way. Hold on, let me pop it out so I can actually look at it.
Sorry,
Somebody
nobody's
asked if
at
I
me
still
yet.
freestyle rap. I'm like, when did I freestyle rap?
I mean, you have.
Haven't
You've
heard
done
you
it.
spit since the early Patreon days.
You've done it like a bit on some streams before, but not like a featured bit, not like a regular thing.
Yeah, that's a tier on Patreon.
Yeah. You can get Dave on Fiverr if
Yeah,
you want to get some raps.
yeah, I'll rap for you.
Yeah, just go on Fiverr.
Yeah, I mostly used to tell fibs. That was most of the early Patreon stuff. It was me just lying about stories that happened.
I mean, yeah, it's the best thing to do.
Yeah, you just improvise a tale.
That's what you're doing with the boys, like you said earlier with the werewolf.
It's very true, actually.
Yeah.
It's a good challenge. Come up
It's
with
not-
something on the spot.
It's not lying, Chad. It's improv.
It's fiction.
Yeah. It's world building.
It's world building.
Yeah, there it is.
And this creature is horrid. What's it doing at the bottom of the sea? What secrets does it know?
There's probably like a book it's protecting that nobody should read, because if they do, like something that's asleep will wake up.
The sludge text.
Yeah.
The text of sludge.
Maybe if somebody reads it, they also become whatever he is.
A sludger.
Yeah, a sludger.
A little sludger.
A Louisville sludger.
A little sludger.
Yeah. Yeah, a little sludger.
Those were lies.
Sometimes.
Oh, the one where I trying to think of the rat stuff. The rat and sewer stuff. It wasn't it's a white lie. Which means I'm a white guy who told it. But it was otherwise it was completely true.
Did I ever tell the story about what happened to my parents last year with the rats on here?
The rats. No, I don't think so. What do you mean? Can
Here's
you give me a
fun
hint?
tangent.
I mean, it's been long enough. You can do it.
Alpacas is the hint.
No.
All right. So last year, every Sunday I stop by and help babysit my nephew for a couple hours because it's good to see him grow up and be there. And, I drink a lot of water. I'm a guy who drinks a lot of water, 2 gallons a day.
Interesting start.
Not to brag. This is very important. It's extremely important to the story.
Okay.
And, every day, me and my nephew go for a walk. And every time I'm over there, not every day, every Sunday. And there's a little farm next door to my parents' house. They have a bunch of alpacas and goats and things. So, I bring my dog. There's a fence between our yard and theirs. And my dog plays with the alpacas, runs around, and my nephew feeds them. And, this time I was over there, all of a sudden, last time I went, that summer, there was a bunch of rats. I saw something scurry past my foot, and I went, oh! And it was a rat in broad daylight. And I was like, what the fuck? And then I saw another rat, and I was like, what? So then I went inside. Like, we don't, we're not on the ocean. You don't see just like rats. Like mice inside in the winter sometimes, and like possums and things, but not rats. So I went inside, and I was like, Ma, what's with the rats? And she said, oh my God, I know. Ever since these people got their new alpacas, they had recently upgraded from 6 alpacas to 20 alpacas. Ever since they got these new alpacas, they stopped cleaning up their shit as often. And all these rats started showing up, eating the alpaca food and like all this crazy stuff. And I was like, Ma, we got to get rid of these rats. She was like, I know, it's awful. So anyway, some months go by. There's some rat encounters. There's a rat in the basement. My mom calls me. She's like, oh my God, can you come over? And there's a rat in the basement. Can you set a trap? Because she was still, she recently had some cancer stuff. Her immune system's not amazing.
So you are a rat trapper?
Well, I set a trap. I put down like a little humane trap, yeah. And I was like, okay,
nice.
let's get this rat out of here. Didn't catch it, but I could hear it scurrying and scritching and scratching. We have false beams in the house, which is when you have like a steel empty beam and wood wrapped around it, so it looks like a wood beam. And all of a sudden one day through the ceiling, this used to happen with chipmunks when I was a kid in the winter. We'd hear the chipmunks run down through the hollow beam going because they'd come in the house when it was cold. All of a sudden one day down the beam in the living room, I heard, I was like, there's a rat in the beam. Ma, we got a rat in the beam! So anyway, flash forward a little bit more. Hanging around. I go to get my water because, I'm a guy that drinks a lot of water. I drink about 2 gallons.
Oh, yeah, you stated that at the beginning of the tale.
I did state that. Had some water and I went, is there iron in this water? I was like, Ma, you need a new filter on the water? And she was like, no, why? And I was like, taste this. And she was like, that does taste kind of like iron. And I was like, oh, that's weird.
Oh my God.
So anyway, the next week I come back and I go to get some water and my mom goes, I don't drink that water. And I'm like, why? And she's like, the iron's getting really bad. And I'm like, okay. A couple weeks later I come by and I'm like, Ma, did you get a new filter? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, Ma, this water, I run the faucet. I'm not even going to taste the water. I ran the faucet and I can smell it. And I'm like, this doesn't taste like iron. This smells rotten. So anyway, a couple more weeks go by.
Couple more weeks.
My mom, yeah. My mom calls me.
Jesus.
And she goes, you're not going to believe this. And I said,
like, yes, I am.
What's going on? And she said, well, we redid all the pipes. We redid all the filters. We did everything. And eventually we ruled out everything except the well. And I was like, okay. So what happened? They dug up the well, and in the well, they took the top off, which has been in there my entire life. I don't think they've ever dug that well up. They dug up the well, they opened it up, and inside of it were a bunch of dead, bloated, rotten rats that were desperate for water in the middle of the summer and scurried on down into that tank. And my parents had been drinking rotten rat water for months. There you go, rotten rat water.
That deserves a witch laugh if I've ever heard something like that.
There you go. Anyway, just a little rat detour. Did I make that up? Is it a white fly? You be the judge.
I don't think so.
No,
It feels
it's a true
very
story.
real.
That's a
feels
true story.
feels
That's a true
very
story.
real. So
The best part. The
how
best part
how
was
were they
when-
affected?
The best part was after I said it tasted like iron, like the week after that, I was talking to my mom, and she was like, I don't know what it is about the water. I thought it was iron, but like, it just tastes like, I don't know, it's like almost like sweet now. And I'm like, that's weird. Like, I didn't know it was full of dead rats at the time, you know? It's just like, So anyway.
This might be a blessing in disguise. Sweet dead rat water.
Sweet dead rat water. You gotta get it. You gotta get it.
Get that rat juice, baby.
Get that rat juice.
That's
What's the
so
biggest-
gross.
What's the biggest rat you ever seen?
In New York, I guess. They're like cat rats.
Yeah, I saw one of those in New Bedford once. I think the New York ones are bigger though. Oh, when I went to that oh god, what was it? I think it was a New York Comic Con. It was like the last one I ever went to. Remember, I took the train back to Providence, and the train broke down underneath that venue. Fuck. It's whatever station has like a theater built into it. And the train went like a couple hundred feet and then broke down, and I was just trapped. We couldn't get off the train because it was in the tunnel underneath this huge, stadium performance center. And we were in there for 6 hours, and we couldn't get out of the fucking train, and it was just dark, and we could just like kind of see the rats and hear them. Oh, that was the worst.
Kim, are you still here? Did she hop off or something?
I think so. I heard her rejoin twice. It made like the little chime sound. So I'm thinking maybe she's trying to fix her connection.
Okay. Because I was gonna say we were eating like In and Out outside the subway, and I think that's when we saw just like a rat was eating with us or something. It was very cool. I mean, my brother lives in New York City, so we've been a lot, and we used to go like twice a year. And I went a lot when I was young too. But like, yeah, great place. Lots of rats. I always like when you're walking past a business and there's just rats like crawling around like the display food. And you're like,
You're like, it's their city. We're just in it.
Yeah.
My favorite thing in New York is when you're walking down the street and you're having a great time. Then you walk over one of those exhaust grates and you just smell rotten garbage. All the rotten garbage you've thrown away over the course of 10 years hits you in one breath. And you're like, oh! It's just, yeah. That hot, rotten air that comes out of the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like in old fantasy movies when like a wind passes over somebody and they turn into a skeleton and like all the flowers wilt. Like it feels like that.
Or when you smell a ghoul.
Yeah, you smell a ghoul and it kills everything in its path. The ghoul wind comes.
Some ghoulish stench.
Everybody shutters their windows.
A ghoul wind.
Yeah, they put
That should
crosses.
be the title. That'd be a chapter in a book.
Ghoul wind. The ghoul wind. Yeah. The ghoul wind is basically that scene in Prince of Egypt where they have to put the blood above their doors and then the shadow comes over and kills all the babies. It's same kind of vibe.
Yeah, it's ghoulish wind energy.
It's the original ghoul wind. It's so crazy that was like a kids movie, like a musical animated kids movie, and it's like, here's the scene where God murders every baby in Egypt. Like, now we're gonna sing a song about miracles right after that. It's very funny.
That's kind of the energy of kids, though.
That's true.
Having little boys, they're like, I have a gun with bullets in it. I'm gonna shoot you in the head. Like, yeah.
You know what's funny about the? Did you ever watch that horrible Ridley Scott Moses movie?
No, I actually don't even know what you're talking about.
I think it's called like Exodus, Birth of Kings or something, and it's got like
What?
You know, it's got American Psycho in it, Batman.
Christian
And he's-
Bale's in that?
Christian Bale is Moses, and it's a Ridley Scott movie. So it's got
Why
like
do I not know this movie?
it's just Gladiator in ancient Egypt because he's like, you know, the Pharaoh took everything away from me and now I'm going to get revenge. But instead of fighting in a Colosseum, it's leading all the Jews. And it's like, dude, I finally watched it because I heard how bad it was. And I was like, it's Ridley Scott. At least, like, the art direction at least has to be good, which it was. The art direction was sick. But my God, this movie. Like,
Not good.
oh my God, dude. It's just why even make it? Like, I don't know. Number one, Christian Bale as Moses is a choice. That's just weird. And number two, their portrayal of God is what you were just talking about. God shows up, and instead of like the burning bush and all that, it's like a little petulant kid who's like, I want to kill everybody. And Moses is like, don't do it. Don't. And he's like, I wanna. And it's like a little kid and like an actual little boy who's like upset. Like, what is this movie?
Nice.
And then, oh my God, his negotiation of the, like, when I say negotiation, I mean like Ridley Scott is like, okay, I'm gonna make this movie and it has to be grounded and believable because I'm Ridley Scott. So I can't show the ocean split down the middle and have them walk through it like it always looks. I gotta find a cool way to make him part the sea that feels believable, and it's so fucking lame. The tide just goes up. The tide just goes out way farther than normal.
Jesus.
And they're like, "Oh, cool, we can
Can
walk."
you imagine if it
across
said that in the Bible? And the tide went out
That's how he
super
portrays
far.
it. It's like the tide goes
miracle.
way out, and they're like, "Oh, cool, we can cross now." And then when the Egyptians come in, like the tide comes way back in, way too fast. They're like, "Oh shit!" Like it's, I don't know. The movie is not. It's not anything. It's so forgettable. So now I want to watch, dude, Gladiator 2. How? With
don't
Denzel?
know. I
want to
love.
watch it. I want to watch
I
it
love
just for
it.
Denzel.
Me too. I love Denzel not changing his accent at all.
Yeah, it's
I was
amazing.
like, that rules. That's so
What
awesome.
were
I
the
agree
other
with that.
ones? I never watched the Robin Hood movie he did with.
I couldn't.
Yeah,
Russell
I never
Crowe.
watched that one. I never saw Napoleon. That's the new one.
I heard it just wasn't very good. Like, it's fine, but it's not like what you want.
It just the big complaint I heard was that it gets the history of the battles wrong. Like it does that dumb cliche of we tricked them into thinking a frozen lake was a field, and then we shot cannons onto it and sank everybody because I'm a military genius, which I've seen in like I think that was in that King Arthur movie with a fucking, you know, Irish guy.
Yeah, it's in a bunch of things.
Right there, King. Fucking Stellan Skarsgård as Viking man.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, Ridley Scott. I don't know.
I'm excited for Alien Romulus. Is that what it's called, or not Romulus?
It might be Romulus.
Romulus and Remus.
It might be that. Yeah.
Uh,
I want to be excited, but I just can't be because like remember how hyped we were for Prometheus and we went to see it like opening day, and then
but
we were like,
this one's not Ridley Scott.
yeah,
It's a. What did that director do? He did some decent stuff. Who am I thinking of? Who is
maybe
it?
it'll be good. It's not Denis Villeneuve.
Well, anyway,
What is he doing?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
It's Romulus. Okay. I wonder if Remus is the sequel.
Oh. I hope so. But yeah, I don't know. Hopefully it's good. Be nice if it was good. That's such a cool universe and a cool aesthetic.
I know.
Remember
The
when
cinematography and the shots in that trailer are awesome.
Yeah, the trailer was good. You remember when Ridley Scott tried to combine the Blade Runner and the Alien universes when Prometheus came out, and everybody was just kind of like, no, they just like didn't let him.
What was
He was
like the whatever
he was like-
industries?
Yeah, he was like, actually, the Weyland Yutani Corporation is in both movies, and in the far, maybe they'll bring an alien parasite back to the dystopian future of Blade Runner. It's like, no,
Yeah.
no, 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 uh.
Yeah, it's funny that like that there's like an era of like those Ridley Scott, like when Ridley Scott ruled, that's like a decent chunk.
Yeah, we should
But
make a
then there's
documentary. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and then there's like I'm not going to say it's Zack Snyder because it would be like Zack Snyder. If Zack Snyder was like 100%, then the new Ridley Scott stuff, like, Alien, the new what was it? What one were you just talking about?
Prometheus.
Prometheus. It's like Prometheus would be like his version of that, where it's like cool trailer, cool shot stuff, cool music, like it's set up like it's gonna be awesome. Like the Zack Snyder stuff, like the thing that he did early on that was good was like the trailers. You were like, oh, this is gonna be cool. Like you watch it and you're like, but then you realize like, oh, he just made this for a trailer. Like it's like he storyboarded a trailer first and then extrapolated a movie from it. You're like, what?
It's literally like he's like a music video director that got a feature film, and you're like, oh, like you're really good at like the short form stuff.
But specifically, it's like the newer Ridley Scott stuff has about like 20% of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's kind of how I feel about it, where it's like really cool. It's like some of the concepts are neat and stuff, and then like it's just not a lot going on.
You ever
Except
watched
for Blade Runner, but that wasn't him. That was Denis.
I was gonna say we should make a documentary about the early days called When Ridley Ruled.
Yeah. Well, like Legend is really cool.
Oh, it's so good if you get the right one, the right soundtrack.
I mean, like Legend's really cool in the way that like I don't know, like it's not like it's like an amazing, captivating movie that will like hook you the way movies hook you, or like really great stories and stuff. But it's more of like a world. It's like you're in a world and being like, wow, this is like completely insane. Like I'm very much this like fantasy lane is like perfected here. Like this feels so good.
Legend is like, I would give anything for Hasbro to go for that aesthetic for Dungeons and Dragons. Legend is the vibe that I want D&D to be, like that type of like dark.
Well, what's that short film that's before Star Wars? You know that one?
Black Angel.
Yes.
Yeah,
like that to me is like what I want D&D to be.
Yeah. It's just it's so good.
I mean, that's kind of the like aesthetic I'm going for with like this stuff.
Yeah, that's what I don't know. I wish they could write it. Like, I guess you can keep some of the lighthearted stuff and a little bit of the humor for certain characters, but not everybody can be a comedian. But just the vibe, like the look of it, like everything in the new D&D stuff looks so clean and so modern, and like nothing is gross, nothing's grimy, nothing feels scary, like nothing's like
I want the like legitimate like horror stuff, like where you're I think like Stranger Things is the best example of that recently. Even it's not like what we're talking about, but it has that taking like D&D deadly seriously.
That'd be, I don't know, like things should like have major stakes and people should die a lot. Like, I don't know. I just want them to rebrand D&D away from. I mean, Baldur's Gate captured most of the vibe, but even Baldur's Gate, everything felt too like modern and like, I don't know, like over stylized. A lot of like, it felt like costumes you'd see at like a Renaissance fair on a lot of the characters, and not like gross.
Yeah, I mean, I still kind of get the like theater kid energy from like a lot of the stuff. Like, I know it's not that completely, but it has that sort of like, we took over your favorite stuff vibe that like a lot of modern stuff has, where I'm like, yeah, but it's not cool. Like it's not like super cool. Like I,
It's
you know what I
weird because
mean? It's hard to put a word to that feeling.
yeah, it's just giving the fans the steering wheel. It's just like the people that shouldn't be in control are in control
It's
because
like
it's the people that love it.
it's too self-aware of what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Like nobody's afraid of the world they're in or something.
I will say the one thing I mean, Baldur's Gate was great. I'm not shitting on Baldur's Gate.
No,
I'm
no,
just
no.
saying that, yeah, the costumes and like the look of most of the characters just felt too modern. But that's like across all of D&D, and like D&D, Hasbro controlled a lot of that. They gave a lot of rules to Larian. But my favorite thing that Baldur's Gate did, I loved almost every second of that game. It was incredible.
Yeah.
But my favorite thing is they took the older versions of D&D and they kind of hid it around. They like peppered it in like optional side quests, like down in the sewer under the city. If you do a bunch of optional shit, you'll find Death Knights from the 70s, and you'll find like the King of Murder, and like all these awesome set, like really like things that could be lame if you didn't completely commit to the bit. And like
Yeah.
they put those in and they commit to the bit. They're like, no, here's a beholder. It's the coolest beholder you've ever seen. Here's a Death Knight. It sounds like a guy with a tin filter on his voice when he talks to you. They have no emotions. Like they really sell the stuff that, like, I love the lame D&D stuff. Like obviously we do our Steve books, but yeah, they elevated all that stuff so much.
Yeah, exactly. Like I feel like so much of that stuff is done right with them. Like they're like the best at it. Larian, like as far as adaptation goes, like, and that's like excluding general feeling. Like if I'm talking like general feeling, like I would like a D&D thing that feels a little bit like Elden Ring ish. Like not that completely, because it's not that, but something like it, you know what I mean, where it's just, it feels very real but not like constrained by reality. Like it's still very fantastical and weird and crazy, but not in a silly way. Not that it can never be silly, but you know what I mean. Like I just think of like all the stuff I grew up with like the manuals and a lot of the like classic covers and things. And the thing that I dislike is the ironic take on that, of like looking at this stuff and being like, oh, this is corny. Like it's corny and silly. It's like, no.
There were like that's a really good way to put it, what you just said. In Elden Ring, the first time I played it, there were moments where like you'd turn a corner into a new area and it looked like a fantasy novel cover from the 70s or the 80s. Like when the first time you leave Limgrave, that first area, you go into Raya Lucaria, and it's like the lake with the big impossible fantasy like precipice with like a huge city with super tall towers on it that wouldn't be able to support the weight, but they put it there anyway because it looks like a fantasy painting. There were so many scenes like that in that game where it captured that vibe so well. Even just the idea of like it's a giant glowing tree, like that's directly from Tolkien, obviously, but like they didn't make it ironic. They just were like, yeah, what if this really was a thing and you can walk around it? And like, I don't know, it was great. They really captured that mood of like you're in like an old oil painting.
Like it was kind of like a kick in the ass to me to like look at Instagram and see like all these AI people doing like dark fantasy stuff the way, like I mean it honestly, like the way that like so many people have wanted it. Like people have wanted dark fantasy stuff to look a certain way for so long, like D&D and all that shit, and they haven't been giving that to you. Like all these companies and things, like there's nowhere for you to really go where it has like that old quality that it used to have. Not that it needs to look exactly the same, but kind of what I'm talking about like adapting it similar to like Elden Ring does, where it just made me frustrated to see like, oh, here's like AI people doing this shit that like I always wanted artists to do too, and I'm like, man, I could fucking do that. So that's why I started doing this stuff.
That is the most like, frustrating thing about the new AI stuff, is how many like people are using it to make the exact kind of D&D I've wanted to see forever. and they're like, here it is, and like a lot of them are putting it on YouTube as like album artwork for just like dungeon albums and stuff, and it's like
Right.
legitimately like the kind of stuff I want to see D&D doing, but no one's doing it, so fans are using AI to do it.
Because
Yeah,
it's like if I was a normal person who didn't care about any
yeah,
of the art stuff, that AI fantasy shit would
yep,
be what I would gravitate towards. It's like
100%.
it's not like I'm happy to say that. Like
No,
that sucks, but it's like, yeah, there's a huge vacuum
yes,
in the market.
massive niche of people that want that look, and no one's doing it. So of course, if something comes out that'll let you do it for free.
Yeah, and I'm like looking at all these people do like cassette tape looking art of like just goblins hanging out around treasure.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I could do that shit.
Mm-hmm.
I could do it and make it look consistent and feel good. And like I was just thinking, I was like, man, I want to do like a fiend folio.
Yeah, be amazing. It's like
So
whoever
that's
used
what
the
all this
AI.
is.
It's like whoever. I think it's all by the same guy, but it might not be. Whoever's using AI to do the Legend of Zelda. If it was a movie in 1979, and it's like all the Ray Harryhausen effects and filters, and like what those things would look like if it was made in those like shitty special effects things, and like that's awesome. And like I wish an art person would do it, but no one's gonna do it because no one's gonna pay for it.
Yeah.
But it's like it's a good idea, but yeah,
Yeah, and I'm like, if I got this, then I can do it.
yeah, I know, really.
I can do this shit. Whatever. It's
The
fun.
thing I liked, the thing I love most about From Software stuff, but especially Elden Ring, is that they go full circle into the most overplayed simple ideas becoming refreshing and cool again, where it's like they can, like, I don't know, it's hard to describe, but like they can make a guy wearing black armor and a cloak with glowing red eyes feel new. And it's been done 20 billion times since like the dawn of anything fantasy related, and somehow they find a way to make it feel like, oh, that's so cool and refreshing. It's a guy in black armor with glowing red eyes, like the most overplayed trope of all time.
But that's the challenge. Like the
Yeah,
easy thing is to overdo a concept. The easy thing is to over design something.
yeah,
Because you can trick yourself into thinking that like that's better, but really just like very good inks or like Mike Mignola's style or something like that. It's like simplicity is like where it's at. Like that's the shit. It's like if you can make really cool stuff and make it simple, like a simple clear concept, like that's kind of like with that eyeball guy I did, like that's what I was thinking the whole time when I was working on it. It was like, it's an eyeball wizard, don't do anything special, don't try to make it like overdone or think too much about it. Just do something that's like, get back to the era of all the artists that you like back in the day. They just watch baseball and then sometimes they draw fantasy creatures and they're just like, whatever, fucking eyeball wizard, and then they draw this like iconic thing. but they weren't like fans of fantasy because it didn't exist at the time.
yeah, it became iconic because of what people did with it after the fact. It wasn't,
Yeah, so I'm
Big-
trying
yeah.
to bring myself back there doing these sorts of things. And that's
Like
like what Elden Ring and FromSoft does like really, really well.
2-word monsters are like the bread and butter of those early monster manuals, where it's like eyeball guy or like man cat,
Yes.
or like brain person, like living wall. It's just like 2 words. It's a thing and another thing smashed together, or it's a thing doing something it shouldn't be able to do. It's a wall that's alive, or it's a cat that's also a man, or it's a snake woman. It's like, yeah,
Yes.
the best, the
That's
simplest.
exactly what I'm saying.
Or if you take a part of a thing and make it the whole thing, where it's like just a floating eyeball, no head, no optical nerve, no brain for it to send visions to, just the eyeball. Big hand, it crawls around, there's no arm, just a big hand, just a piece of something being a whole thing on its own.
Yeah, I was showing that stuff to the kids today because I was like, I pulled out a lot of my like 70s and like 80s art books that I have, which I, if you're thinking like, oh, would you pull out Wayne Barlow? Wrong. I pull out weird, obscure, horrible art books that like just, they don't exist. Like nobody ever bought them. They were never famous. I just bought a bunch off of eBay where I was like 70s art, and it's just, you know, it's stuff that's on the side of a van sort of stuff. But like there'll be just like Dog Planet, and you're like, hell yes. It's just the purest, simplest ideas, and like I love it for that, where it's still like in that space where it's before all these things had defined borders, where they were like, there are orcs in every single thing that you're going to see. It's like, no, back in the day there were like dog guys with axes, and those were the orcs in like this thing, and then there would be something else over here. Like fantasy didn't have, you know, this clear look. It was like anything you wanted. It still is, but like I think people attribute fantasy to very specific things now, so then they don't wander outside and do like weird concepts. And it's refreshing to like look back at the time when fantasy wasn't this one thing. It wasn't just Lord of the Rings or D&D. Like it was a bunch of shit. So that stuff is very good, and it gives me a bunch of ideas whenever I look at it, or it's even just a reminder to think differerently about what you're doing.
I wish, like, I don't know, like I wish the people at Hasbro would just do like the Terrata stuff from Wizardry. Like, I don't know, just something, even if it's not fully dark. Like even just his Wizardry illustrations are they feel so much more refreshing than anything they're doing right now.
Yeah,
it's like pulpy. It like kind of needs to feel pulpy. If it's too ornate and like well executed, it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't feel as cool.
Yeah, that's like one of the things that I learned doing like Starvale.
Yeah,
was like you just put layers of texture and things between the viewer and what the content is, and you just create like a separation, you know, like make it feel like it's a part of something else, and then it feels better. Like it feels a little like cozier, like something about it is like warmer. Like I don't know, you know what I'm talking about? Like it just has
absolutely.
like a different feeling to it.
Yeah, it's like I don't know if anybody knows the artist Jaw Cooper. Jaw does this awesome thing with her lines, and I don't know how she does it, but everything looks like she's drawing it on like vellum or something. Like the lines aren't like crisp, they feel, but they're not like blurry either. It just feels, I don't know, it feels like organic in a weird way that nothing else does. It feels like it's on like translucent paper or something. It just that texture is just so satisfying on its own. It does so much for the work. With the Starvale stuff, like, I don't know, sometimes like when an image printed wrong in an old magazine and it was kind of offset a little bit, or like the colors weren't lined up perfectly on the print, like it had a vibe that made it feel more alive than when you see like the high quality JPEG 20 years later. You're like, the magazine one kind of looked cooler. Like I don't know, it felt more real.
That's exactly what I'm saying. It's the same sort of principle as like I try and get it across. Like I was working on a video game, and I brought this example in to just be like, okay, look at this. Like look at old Disney Robin Hood. I was like, look at this frame by frame, and like them dancing or whatever. And I'm like, look at the color jitter. Like look at how the fills in these, they're not the same color in every frame. Look at how like there's noise on the screen. Look at the sketchiness of the line, that the line moves wrong. Like certain things have like errors to them, you know, like errors, like in air quotes. Like it's not actually an error. It's like that feeling is so warm. Like it looks so good and gives it so much extra life. Like I love that stuff. Like that human error is, you know, it's like what you want. It's the same reason why a video of you working on a tablet filmed like back here over the shoulder versus me recording the screen is going to do better, because it has humanity to it. it's like people like the humanity side. So if you can inject humanity into whatever you're working on, it's going to feel better.
I like you were saying about Robin Hood. I rewatched The Black Cauldron last week because I was like, I remember loving this movie as a kid, and I know everybody hates it, but like something about that animation, something about I don't know. I think they like blue screen recorded or something of like actual dry ice mist coming out of a thing shaped like a cauldron, and then they layered it on top of this beautiful oil painting and made it neon green smoke, and then they added like multiple filters of like celluloid textures over it, and then had the cartoons on top of that. And something about all those, it just feels like nothing else. It just feels so good. I don't know. It's just feels it's such a weird vibe that nothing else has. But yeah,
it's the same sort of thing. It's like if you're listening to this and you're wondering like what we're talking about, like think about this is like a common one in art. Why does the sketch look better than the final?
Oh, the ultimate. Yeah.
Why? Like, why does it? And it's the same principle. It's that you perfected it too much in the final. It's like you didn't leave enough of the human error behind. Like, it's one of the big things that you can like overdo. You can get too academic in your work. It's like I heard people saying in the chat, like, indie artists do this stuff. It's like, yeah, they do. And then the thing with like artists who end up in like my position, or, you know, just like further down the road in the pipeline of like AAA games or whatever, it's like you've been working at such like a very like fundamentals are very important, like academics type of approach to your work, that like you kind of lost the, this is going to sound mean, I don't mean it because not everybody does this, but I mean that it's very easy to lose that sense of style and just something being cool. Like it's very easy to overthink and think that like quality comes from something being executed perfectly, versus the idea that like leaving in imperfections, letting things be a little loose here and there, whatever, like that stuff actually gives a ton of life to what you're doing. And even like leaving things up to like imagination is very important. I don't know, like a lot of that stuff helps create that kind of energy.
It's, I don't know. It's like 100% of the reason why I love I'm not going to remember their name. The Metal Gear Solid artist.
Oh yeah.
It's 100% of why I love their work, and it's 100% of why I love. If anyone's seen the pen and ink drawings that Yoshitaka Amano did for the first 3 Final Fantasy games of all the monsters, they are so incredibly awesome. Like, they're like fast. It feels like he did like 20 or 30 a day. It's just like, okay, we're gonna do a mind flare, but it's the 80s and nobody knows what that is, so I'm gonna look at the D&D monster manual and then do my version of it. And it's so quick and there's so much energy, but like all the stuff you want is there, but has so much personality, but like it's not like rendered. It's just like, here's a really cool version of this idea, and it's just enough information for you to make an 8-bit sprite out of it in a battle window. And like that stuff was never intended to be like shown to the public, but it's so good. It's so good. It's, I don't know. It feels so much more alive than anything in the new monster manuals. It just does, but it's so much simpler.
Yeah, the same thing you're talking about like the what am I thinking of? What you were just talking about like the dungeon crawler. Is that Ultima? Is that the artwork we were talking about? No.
I was talking about wizardry.
Wizardry is what I'm thinking of.
The Tirada stuff is like incredible.
Yes, that's what I'm talking. Not Ultima. The wizardry stuff, it's like that has that same energy where it's like fast and loose. It's not overly perfected.
You can feel the motion in some of the lines in the art because you can tell they were drawing them fast because the job paid nothing and they were trying to get them done quickly but still have them look cool. Like, you can actually see the speed in some of the drawings, especially the Amano stuff. You can like really see it. And like, I don't know, it adds so much energy.
Right, and then one of the things that you can do a lot, and like if you watch the screen right now, what I'm working on, I can't make the plants around this character look too cool. They can't look too alien, and it's like a principle in like game design too, where like there are certain objects in the world that are going to be like quote unquote hero objects. They're objects that like stand out. And there needs to be objects that don't stand out, so that the thing that does stand out when you see it. So like your instinct as an artist, I feel, in those situations is to draw nothing but like cool shit everywhere. But if cool shit's everywhere, then cool shit's nowhere. So you always have to think of like, okay, it's actually all right. I'm actually servicing the illustration by not making the environment around compete with my main focus. As weird as that sounds, that's like a huge thing. And like I learned a lot about that working on like games the past few years, being like an art lead on projects and stuff, is just being like, oh, okay, you can overdo this in a negative way.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, it's actually beneficial to keep things kind of boring in certain aspects.
Yeah. Yeah, you want mundane stuff, or else nothing feels special.
Mm-hmm.
And you can make, cool mundane stuff. It just has to be mundane in comparison to the cooler stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's the same principle as like what has more contrast, a brightly lit room or like one light on in the room.
Yeah, really. Oh, I'll be right back. I gotta get some water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like this, like in my mind, that's what I'm thinking about when I'm working on something like this. It's like the light that's on is this guy. The rest of the room it's whatever, it's fine. Unless the point of the illustration is the moment that you're showing in that moment. There's, something very specific that's happening that needs a level of focus to it that requires it to feel, extra interesting and cool.
What up?
Nothing. Okay, so here is our inked monster. Dude living at the bottom of the ocean. Need to know what you guys think of Paul Bonner. Love him.
Paul Bonner's
one
great.
of my favorites.
Yeah. King of the noses. Draws the greatest noses I've ever seen.
I think Paul Bonner is a great example of like balancing everything.
Yeah.
He does a really good job with that.
It skews a little more kids book than like fantasy, like dark fantasy. It skews way more kids book. But I really like what's his name? Justin Gerard.
Yeah.
He does some cool stuff too.
You did that so quickly. What the fuck? Yes.
Years of practice.
I've been working on speed. Yeah, his Paul Bonner's like whole watercolor gouache approach is insane.
Awesome.
I don't know how he does that.
Man. What's really weird is do you think, there's no way Frazetta has his style like trademarked, right? There's no way.
I would say if he did, then he would be in court, like he would be suing people
Forever.
constantly.
Yeah. Why is there no video game or like major IP that has that look? It's like simultaneously the most recognizable version of like this is fantasy, but also like nobody's used it. Like they tried in the Conan movie in the 80s, but nobody has tried since. Even Disney didn't really try with their John Carter thing.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know why nothing like looks like that with those colors and everything.
Yeah, nothing looks like that. The armor on the characters doesn't look the way he painted armor. The monsters don't look like his monsters. Like, it's so weird to me that it's like the most iconic version of like Here's Fantasy, and like no one's adapted it, other than the fucking Conan movie tried to a little bit.
Yeah, I do think that that's strange. It's odd to just like abandon a look like that's.
Yeah.
Like I think about that a lot. Like not like I don't even try to do anything like him, but I think about his color choices, and I'm like, cool color choices. Like it's like what I kind of like a lot when I do stuff. It's like I like really bright colors and like super saturated or like weird like pastels and things. And like a lot of artists that I liked growing up use those colors. Like even like what's his face who did like the Yes album covers?
Roger Dean, is that his name?
Yeah, like my dad bought me like a bunch of his art books from like a yard sale when I was a kid.
Those are great.
And I just was like obsessed with them. I was like, holy shit, like these like dragonflies and like floating islands and stuff. Like,
I remember the first time I saw that Frazetta painting. It was like a velvet reproduction, like when they would put paintings on velvet, like
yeah.
It was a velvet reproduction of a Frazetta painting, and it was the one of the like Prince of Mars and the girl leaning away from the Mothman who had like the wings that were like 20 colors. You know the one I'm talking about? He's like a human with moth wings and a moth face. It's great. But I saw that and I was like, I've never seen. But like the sky is like black. It's like his version of being on an outer space planet is the planet has no atmosphere and the sky is just the blackness of space. But everything on the planet is like super vibrant, even though there's no light in the sky. Something about that contrast of like here's neon green and neon purple and red, and he's got yellow eyes, and the sky is just black with stars in it is so fucking awesome. Like the contrast, like it makes no sense, but it's great. It does make sense in your brain though. You're like, oh, it's space. Black means space. Like, yeah, I don't know. I love that. It's just weird that no one's done the Frazetta stuff. I don't get it.
Yeah, it is bizarre.
Other than, the greatest movie of all time, Fire and Ice. That one really tried to do it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of all the running around rotoscoping stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I remember seeing that as a kid and being like, this should be awesome. Why isn't it awesome?
Yep.
Like that kid thing where you can't quite put your finger on why
you
you
don't
like it.
Again.
Yeah,
you watch it one more time and it'll be awesome.
Like, why?
Oh, it's still not.
Why is this stupid?
When the Ice Emperor is gripping his chair handles and having an orgasm, like, oh, and then it shows the glaciers growing. Oh, and then the glaciers get bigger. Like, I think this is scary magic that I'm supposed to be scared of, but I'm mostly just laughing. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah. Pretty sure that's a guy getting sucked off, rotoscoped, and not
interesting.
Not scary magic. Yeah.
And then I thought like the ring wraiths that were rotoscoped in the Lord of the Rings movie. I was like, that's pretty spooky. When I was a kid.
Yeah.
I was like, that's pretty good.
It works in that, I think, because the ring wraiths are basically supposed to be a silhouette anyway. Like they're not like they're just a shape essentially. So like I guess it works if you're doing that.
Yeah, when they're like super smooth in like Fire and Ice, where they're like super smooth running with like little steps, like lots of little steps, and you're like
little steps. And also if you could see all the leg muscles of the ring wraiths when they ran, it would suck. Like if their cloak blew out of the way and you saw their legs running and it was like fully articulated, you'd be like, oh, now they're just people wearing robes. Like now this blows. They're not some spooky supernatural threat. They're just guys in costumes that someone traced.
Yeah.
But that's also like, I don't know, the worst thing in the world is in the Ralph Bakshi Fellowship in the Ring. with the fucking Balrog, and it's just a guy who lazily floats down one step on a staircase, and he's like 7 feet tall. He's not big. He's bigger, but he's not big. And he just cracks a whip lazily. It's not a real whip crack though, because that would probably be too dangerous. So he just kind of like limply flips a noodle shaped thing, and it goes whoosh.
But back then, when that was what you had,
yeah,
that's pretty good.
I mean, I guess I don't know. I remember seeing that when I was a kid and being like, oh.
No, yeah, I wasn't like crazy about it, but in terms of what else there was, it's like you hoped everything would be as cool as like Labyrinth and Dark Crystal.
People are like, the animation is so much smoother in the fucking Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings, and I'm like, yes, but the Hobbit movie from the fucking people that became Studio Ghibli 2 years after looks so much better.
Oh, man, I love that movie.
It looks so good. It's like, yeah, there's less frames of animation, but it looks so much better. It's like, it kind of ties into the thing we were talking about earlier, where like the Bakshi thing, or like the rotoscope movies, they like tried to over perfect it. Yeah. They didn't let it be flawed with like the bad frame rate, and like they didn't have to have like an economy of stuff where like, okay, we got to sacrifice frames, but we're going to have these beautiful backgrounds, and like, because we're going to sacrifice frames, what are like the big powerful actions people can do, like strong movements, no subtlety. But yeah, I don't know. That that Hobbit movie is fucking incredible. And like the Return of the King one is pretty good. It's got some moments in it that look great and some moments that are kind of budget, but like, I don't know. Their like Witch King design is so sick. It's unfortunate they went with the Skeletor voice, but I don't know. That design of him is so accurate to the books that it's like incredible.
Yeah.
But then he talks and he's like, "How now for me, old fool? Do you not know the prophecy?" You're like, okay, well, it was fun while it lasted. It was fun while it lasted. And also,
I rented those all the time.
There's a really great scene. I might be misremembering this. I hope not. I think in the books, Tolkien calls the stuff that they ride like winged mounts, and like the one the Witch King rides, he says, is like a fell beast. It's like a dragon type thing. But the other Nazgul, I think he says they had winged mounts. And the interpretation in that Lord of the Rings movie by the people that did The Hobbit is I think it's just ghost horses with bat wings. And they're just riding around in the sky above the castle. And I'm like, this is fucking sick. This is awesome. Like, it's so fucking stupid. Like, that's the kind of like literal fantasy translation that's like so dumb it becomes cool again.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a horse, but it can ride into the air. Like, magic.
Yeah, you don't got to come up with a new, really crazy creature.
It's like a Pegasus, but it's evil and also a ghost. Magic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that thing of like, once you have the toolbox where you can do anything you want, like you kind of you can go too far with that stuff. Limitation is key. Just a horse.
Yeah, just a horse. A horse that rides around in the sky. It is scary. I also like the thing about old D&D that I miss is that magic felt special because it was so subtle. That whole part of the aesthetic where it's like, even little things can be super, super special. Like, that also ties into that Lord of the Rings vibe where it's like, Gandalf can make his stick glow, so now it's not spooky to be in the dark. Like, ooh, it's crazy magic. He can say a word and like, I don't know, maybe a door will open. You're like, oh my god, this amazing wizard can do that. What?
Whoa, he's the best of us.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very, very good. I love the subtle magic.
Yeah, wait a second. He's special.
Now it's like, I'm going to cast level 15 fireball, which means I shoot 15 fireballs. And you're like, okay. All right.
Oh, I can't wait. We've been like training the boys. They're going to be ready for me running some crazy stupid campaigns in D&D or whatever we do. And I'm just going to come up with all of this stuff.
Have you ever played D&D?
Not really. Not like seriously.
Yeah.
I had like all the stuff when I was a kid. I like bought it all, you know?
I think
And, like read up on everything and then was just like too embarrassed to
I think like
do anything.
every kid around here who played it didn't know what they were doing. Kind of like every kid who played Magic, where they were like,
Yeah.
I know how to play Magic, but also I don't know how to play Magic, and I'm kind of making it up as I go.
Yeah.
Played like Ravenloft and stuff, but yeah.
Well, King Spider's coming.
I'm excited. Be right back.
Yeah. No comics? Yeah, I finished my comic, so I'm in flux between. I just talked to my printer today to go over materials and all that, and that was very good. And I needed to talk to him to kind of work out what was possible with the cover. And it was a lot of just kind of like concepting, and I draw stuff during the Zoom call and just like share my screen, go like, what about something like this? What would this be like? And then just run through scenarios, what's doable, what's not, what might have a supply shortage, and that sort of thing. So it's a bunch of boring comic work things right now, but comic is still happening. It just needs to be published, funded and published.
Yo, I'm back.
Yo. Maybe I'll build this one up from the grayscale or the black inks. I'm not really feeling what I was just doing with it. I feel like it feels cooler like this.
I should look at your stream and see it.
And I'll just paint directly on top of this. Probably makes more sense.
Do you think... Sorry for this left field question. Why isn't your stream popping up? There you are. Oh, cool. I like the face.
Thanks.
The face feels like the Final Fantasy 1 Amano stuff. It feels like his illustration for like Kraken. Yeah, it looks good. Cool barnacles.
Thanks.
Man. Do you think...
Yep.
Sorry, left field question.
Wait, hold on a second. Somebody was asking if we've seen the anti-D&D short comic. I have no idea what that is.
The one that tries to convince kids that it will lead them to hell, and it's like, yeah, I've seen that. It's like the parents' PSA thing from the 80s.
Oh yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if that was like something that was new.
If that's what they're talking about, I've seen it. Where it's like, I think one of the kids like commits suicide or something, and like they all have like pentagram necklaces at the end.
Cool.
And you're like, you're just making me want to play it more.
I know, when you're a kid.
Yeah, like you're telling me there's actual magic in that fucking game I can play? What?
Satan.
The devil might show up? Huh?
Yeah. My
Do
mom
you
doesn't
think
like it.
that it must be great? Do you think when they made Hell Comes to Frogtown, someone had a bunch of frog costumes and they were like, what do we do? Let's write a movie about Frogtown. Or do you think someone came up with that idea for a script and then they went and bought someone to like commissioned a guy to make frog costumes?
God, I don't know. Good question.
It's a real chicken and egg scenario with Hell Comes to Frogtown. I was just watching the trailer for it the other day because I might rewatch it. It's been long enough, but I'm just so curious how that even happened. I feel like it has to be a thing where they just found a bunch of frog costumes, but then also, what the hell were they from?
Right, like they just made like a movie before that just like the budget didn't make sense. They had already made everything.
Maybe there's some weird like Roger Corman movie that never got released or something that had frog people and like it got shelved and they just had stuff in like a warehouse. Because if someone wrote the script for that movie and then they went and paid money for those costumes, that's wild to me. That's crazy that even could happen. That someone greenlit that and was like, yeah. Fuck yeah.
What's this one called?
Hell Comes to Frogtown. His name's Sam Hell. And he goes to a literal town of frogs. Yeah, I mean, how much you need? A couple million?
That's a good question. Maybe. I don't know, man.
I'm very curious. I don't want to look it up. I just want to speculate.
Yeah. I bet you're right. I bet they just had them. Or just like a couple of them or something. They probably had to make some.
Because it's not like an Aliens thing where like, or Alien thing where they're like, okay, we got like 3 suits.
Well, it's tricky.
Aliens. Yeah.
It's tricky because in that time, VHS was like great. Like you could do, like you could make like VHS movies and they would succeed, you know?
Yeah, the Canon film strategy.
Yeah, it's like, so, I don't know. Like it could just be that.
It is wild that they have so many different frog costumes in that movie, though.
Yeah. Because it's during, like, I think mainly what I'm thinking about is, like, it's during, like, Gremlins. It's during, like, Ghoulies and Critters and, like, all this shit.
Were they trying to, like, ride off the success of, like, They Live, where it's, like, it's Roddy Piper again, and he's fighting a bunch of guys that look weird?
They must have.
Right? Because, like, they don't look anything like the aliens in They Live, but it's him versus a bunch of people that look weird. And, like, that's only happened twice, and it's those 2 movies.
One of them didn't work.
Yeah.
One of them didn't make money, at least.
It's so funny watching They Live in high definition because the matte paintings of like the big words on like billboards and things are so obviously matte paintings.
I know the HDification of everything needs to go away.
Yeah, it has to stop.
It was not meant to look like that, so stop doing it.
Surprisingly, all the matte paintings in Escape from New York actually still hold up, but I think that's because I want to say James Cameron did them. He was like Mr. Matte Painter before he became Mr. Director.
No, and he made cool music.
Wait, John Carpenter?
Oh, right.
Yeah, I'm talking about
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Titanic, man.
I was gonna say. I was like, I don't remember him doing matte paintings. And I was like, oh, I know you're not talking about him.
Yeah. Titanic.
Isn't
man,
it weird that there's more than one of those dudes that's
Yes.
like able to do all of that shit?
Yeah, I'm just gonna do everything.
You're like, wow, really?
Just gonna do all of it. One of the funniest things about if anyone's ever, I only know this from Red Letter Media. I didn't sit down and watch the special features on the Titanic DVD because I never watched the Titanic DVD. But Red Letter Media, Mike's obsessed with it. Like, I didn't realize that he James Cameron had like all of the special effects shots for that movie like planned out before the movie even got like bought. He like knew how he was going to do all of it because he got his start doing them for those like B movies.
Yeah.
He knew every shot that had to be a miniature, everything that had to be a matte painting, everything that had to be a scale replica. Like, it was all, he had the whole budget basically figured out.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I needed to get quiet and then figure out what this lighting was supposed to be. I can't just go into autopilot. Okay. I need to light this guy from more than one side.
You know what he kind of looks like?
What?
He kind of looks like the Golem from the animated Hobbit.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when I was sketching it.
Those big eyes.
I was always a fan of that version of Gollum, like the very
Me too.
fishy version.
It's my favorite version of Golem. I think
Fishy,
he's
froggy.
Aesthetically, I think he looks way stronger than the one in the Peter Jackson movies.
Yeah. I agree.
I just love the logic they used, where they're like, okay, he's been living in a cave for 1,000 years. What lives in caves? Albino frogs and albino fishes. Okay. Just make him an albino fish frog. I know we can't talk about details on here, but I'm very satisfied with the direction our third book is taking.
Yeah, me too.
Keep reading back stuff, and I'm like, this feels very good.
I know, I'm so happy with that stuff.
Yeah.
It's coming along really well.
I'm really happy with the fact that we let ourselves do something 2 days ago, chat, that we never would have done for our first two books, and it felt so good. Where we had a new idea, and it was a very funny idea, and there was nowhere to put it because it would have had to be squeezed in if it became like part of other chapters. So we just let ourselves make the book bigger by adding 2 new chapters. We were like, no, this is funny enough, we're just going to put it in. Because like so much of the first two was just like cutting.
But even then, it's like when we were cutting stuff, it wasn't like it was all home runs, you know, like
No.
anyway. Like we just kind of like, we were like, God, we need to wrap up. Like we just weren't very good at wrapping up storylines and stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
So it was just really difficult to kind of put that all together and be like, God, how do we? It's like we were so obsessed with like doing a lot to round stuff out versus being short and sweet.
Just valuing like this is a good idea, so it should be here.
Yeah.
That felt good.
Note to self: render with this brush first and then the other brush. I'm always happy when I figure stuff like this out and then I'm on stream so I can actually look back later and go, that's what I was doing.
You're not watching House of the Dragon, are you?
No.
They did a cool old D&D idea. I don't know if anyone cares if I talk about spoilers, though.
I care.
I'm not gonna talk about it then.
That's like one of the only shows that like I will watch.
It's great. This whole season's been great.
I gotta watch Scavenger's Reign.
Yeah, people keep telling me to watch that. It looks cool. I haven't tried yet, though. I got a big backlog. It's usually not as big as it is right now. I still haven't watched Blue Eye Samurai.
That's why I have to watch it, because I like was posting like up on Twitter because the Emmy nominations are out, and they were like, best animated was like Scavenger's Reign, X-Men 97, Blue Eye Samurai, and whatever. And I was like Blue Eye Samurai all the way. I was like,
Yeah.
that show was awesome. And then people were like, you gotta watch Scavenger's Reign. And I was like, against Blue Eye Samurai?
Everyone's telling me to watch Scavenger's
So I was like,
Reign.
okay, then I have to watch it. If
Yeah.
it weighs up to that, then like, whoa, okay.
My one friend who finally convinced me to watch Arcane, because I was assured it was going to be horrible in my brain, and then I loved it, is the one who told me to watch Scavenger's Reign.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's easy to be kind of like not super on board with Arcane because it's just like League of Legends stuff, and like if you're
Well, the way they
don't know
marketed
any of it.
Arcane, the way they marketed Arcane was cringe. Like it was like I didn't want to see the show that it was marketed as, where it was like, do you like Harley Quinn? We have a whole show about her, and also it's League of Legends. And I was like, oh, two things I don't care about. Sick. And like that's basically all it was. It was like, do you like Harley Quinn and League of Legends? And I was like, I don't. Not for me. But oh boy, did I love that show. I fucking loved that show. So
yeah.
What's the story with the League of Legends lore? Like, did they just make up a bunch of cool characters that were kind of inspired by other popular things and then have somebody come in and write lore later? Or was there always a story?
I think you're right on the money. The first one.
The first one, yeah. Because I was like, when I was watching Arcane, I was like, I remember when League of Legends came out. There's no way it was a game about a Charles Dickens story of like A Tale of Two Cities. I was like, what? It's like we're doing this? But yeah. That must have been very funny to be the guy that Riot called in. They just hang up a bunch of pictures of all their characters that look completely different on the wall, and they're like, make it make sense. Here's
I
your
don't
money.
care how you do it.
Here's your money. Make it make sense. Maybe there's a multiverse. Maybe there's some kind of magic. Maybe it's different planets. We don't care. Just make it make sense. Make it make sense. Bonus points if you make it good. Okay.
Fuck.
Those are the jobs I want. I would give anything to get those calls.
I know.
Oh,
Just
that's
fun puzzles to figure out.
yes. Just make it make sense.
I know those are super fun.
That one comic we did that hasn't come out yet that we can't talk about is kind of one of those where a company was like, make us a mascot and a whole team of other people the mascot's with, and then somehow make a story that makes sense about our product. Like, okay. It was very fun to just like, sure.
Yeah, that was fun. It's so stupid.
Yeah, it's great. It's one of my favorite things we've ever done, and no one's seen it because supposedly it's still coming out though. So
Yeah, by the time it does, we're just different human beings.
I know, like, who did that? The man who made this is dead. I killed him. I became what he was and replaced him.
All that's left is an idea.
Yeah, a memory of that man.
Mm.
The way I feel when that comic finally hits the internet is gonna be it's gonna be that moment in like romance movies when like the person calls at 3 a.m. and they're like, I do love you, actually. I finally figured it out. Then the person answering the phone's like, it's too late.
Yeah, I'm
I've
already.
moved on.
They have a family.
Yeah, I've moved on. I'm happy now. Yeah, it's gonna be that feeling. Guys, this is so great. This thing you did, it was great. The memory of its greatness lives in a part of me that I will cherish forever. But that time is not now.
Yeah.
I've already laughed at those jokes.
It is funny how that stuff works. Like, you have to be very committed to jokes and stuff and what you do or
Yeah.
whatever. You know, just like your initial idea. You have to trust that that was good when you did it because, like, a tip for anybody making books, you can overdo stuff. Like the same thing we were talking about, like perfecting things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can overdo your writing. Like, you can go back through and be like, I don't, you know, I've read this 17 times, so it's not funny anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to stop yourself and go like, but it was when I wrote it the first time.
Yeah.
It's like, so it's still funny. It just isn't funny to me because, you know, how many movies or anything, like stand-up specials, like, I don't laugh the same the 20th time I watch it. It's like, so you can't expect that.
I bring this up a lot, but it's my favorite Conan O'Brien clip in that documentary, Conan O'Brien Can't Stop, where he talks about reading the scripts after doing comedy for like 40 years professionally, basically. And he's just staring at the paper and he's like, oh my God, that is funny. I'm gonna do
It's the funniest thing I ever read in my life.
Yeah, just deadpan. Yeah, it's great. It is funny. Funniest thing I ever read in my life.
Yeah, you definitely got to get out of your own way with that sort of shit.
Yeah.
And just trust that it was good when you did it.
And also, to tie it back to the thing we talked about with the pulpy art earlier, sometimes it being a little bad is what makes it great.
Yeah, you can perfect language too much or,
Yes.
you know, overdo certain things or like just make things like one of the weird ones is like forgetting that stuff is grammatically inaccurate
Yes.
because of the character who's talking.
I did this the other day when we were writing, where I was like, oh, the tense is wrong on the way he's saying this. It sounds weird. And then Dave was like, yeah, but this character wouldn't care about that because they're dumb. Like, oh, true, they would say it wrong. Yes, it should. The wrongness makes it better.
Yeah, you can't like read it like the. I will say like the one nice compliment we get a lot with Steve. I mean, we get a lot of like good feedback, but like one of my favorite ones is the dialogue feels real, and I'm like,
yeah, it feels like people talking.
Like, thank you. Like, that's great because like that's exactly the thing we're like aiming for is like real dialogue. Like how you actually talk, not like how you write people talking.
It is very funny when something has to be the right amount of incorrect. If it's too incorrect, it feels like a mistake. And if it's not incorrect enough, it feels like it's machine made. You're like, oh no.
Right. Like there's this inclination to like if somebody says fuck all the time,
yeah,
you're like, take that out. But then you're like, but then I'm not accurately doing the character because how many people do you know who are annoying, who just say the same thing over and over and like they don't have a super verbose vocabulary. It's like they'll stand out in your script because they are authentically that person, and like you don't try to perfect their language or anything, you make them real. And you can like the error would be fixing that because you're assuming that like the reader can't tell that. It's like, but the reader can tell that you're good at that because your other dialogue doesn't sound like that. Your other dialogue has that breaks, like when it's character appropriate, you correct for those things in other characters. So it's like that must be intentional. You know?
I love painting a shrimp with 100 arms that are human arms and all the little fingers. Love it so much.
Yeah, it's just built into our DNA.
You might think I'm being sarcastic. I'm not. I do love it. It hurts, but I love it.
I just like doing what I'm doing right now. Just like painting with values like this it's just very enjoyable. It's like I'm sculpting. It's very easy. It's nice.
I'm in the danger stage of this painting where I love rendering manual textures, and there's a lot of them in this. And if I'm not careful, I'll do it forever, and it'll feel good the whole time, and it'll never get done. Because this is like therapy mode for me, where it's just like I get to zoom way in. I get to pull up some references of like tree bark or like stones or like rusty metal and just blend and kind of turn my brain off and just make it look good. But if you're not careful, you could literally do this forever.
Yeah, I get that.
This is the literal comfort zone. I'm so comfortable doing this. Oh.
Same. I hit the stage where I'm just like enjoying myself. And I'm like, it's 9:30. I should go to sleep.
Do you think there's a furniture store with a section called the comfort zone and it's like all sectional couches?
Yes.
Welcome to the comfort zone. Have a seat on that recliner over there.
You'll never leave here. Don't stay here too long. You fuck up your whole life.
It's very funny. I hope that's real. I feel like that must exist somewhere. It's probably in like a shoe store. Welcome to the comfort zone. Try these inserts. Like walking on air.
I bought those like Vivo shoes. Vivo? Is that the right company name? I don't know.
Don't know.
The ones that are like basically like super flat soled. and they have like a little bit of room for like your toes to like naturally spread out like they would if you were barefoot, but they're not like toe shoes because those are fucking horrible, just aesthetically. But yeah, I bought those and I've been wearing them for like 2 years now, and I feel like they've like permanently changed like the health of like my feet and my legs and shit. It's so good. It's great. Like I love those shoes so much. I'm like worried that they won't be around forever. I'm like, I should just buy more of them and like keep them for when my shoes eventually die.
You know, I heard somebody say this at the gym the other day. It was very funny, and I forgot it happened, and you just reminded me. I'm really glad I'm remembering this. Someone at the gym, just a normal sentence, but for some reason it just stuck out. They were lifting weights, and they went, ah, and they put the weight down, and they kneeled down, and the other guy went, what's going on? And he said, there's something wrong with my Reeboks. And for some reason in my brain, I was like, that sounds like a sentence that only like a slave trader in a sci-fi fantasy world would say. There's something wrong with my Reeboks. Like, what is the word Reebok? It sounds like a fucking robot alien race.
Yeah, it does.
It sounds like a
Reebok.
slave trader with a bunch of robot alien people walking up to the guy he bought him from, like, there's something wrong with these Reeboks. They don't want to work. Like, it, yeah, Reebok. It's like Ewok or something.
Yeah, it does have a very sci-fi feel if you remove yourself from what it is.
Or
like
like
one
if
of
you
those
go
words, if you say too much, it sounds wrong.
If you do like the Worf voice, it makes sense too, where it's like, Captain, the Reeboks have helped us. Like, it just sounds like a shitty, it sounds like a shitty race in like next
Some android.
Captain, the Reeboks have reached out to us about our hoopta. What should I say? Send them a warning shot. Those Reeboks shouldn't be in the neutral zone. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Reading the chat. Somebody was saying, going back to normal shoes feels like you're now walking on a forward slant. It's fucked. Yeah, honestly, that's like the craziest thing about going back to normal shoes, because like I wear those shoes every day. Like I'm almost, that's like it. I really don't wear anything else. And then occasionally they don't make sense, right? Like if you're going out to like a nice place or something. So I'll have like these other shoes or, boots or something, depending on the time of year. And I put them on and I'm just like, whoa, fuck, this sucks. And like my feet start like hurting after a while and shit. I'm like, oh no, I'm done. Like I can't go back to this anymore. It just, like I couldn't do it every day, like wear regular shoes again.
It's like sometimes in the city, you'll move to an apartment that isn't level. And like you can tell something's wrong, and then you put a marble on the floor and it rolls away, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
Nothing here.
Wait a second, what else is?
Yeah.
There's a camera on the wall. I always think that must be the scariest thing. Like, you ever watch those, like, whatever, like, reels or TikToks will come up and they'll be like, look at this hotel room, and they, like, show the red light. Or that, like, the mirror glass is a little bit, like, there's, like, a little bit of separation.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, somebody's watching me.
Something's wrong in here.
I always think about that. Just if I found that out, that was happening to me all the time. Just, uh-oh.
Do you remember when we went to San Francisco? Oh my God, were you even with me?
Go ahead with the story.
Oh no, I don't think you were with me. I was in San Francisco for oh God, the game development thing. And I was swimming in a pool. I think you were on speakerphone, maybe?
No, I was there.
You were there?
I was, yes, I was there.
Okay, it was either for a game development thing or it was from the Massive Black thing.
It was Massive Black because you were in the pool and I was there, and
Yes, yes, yes. You know what I'm talking about. Okay.
yeah, you can tell the story
Yeah.
though because it's very funny.
I was swimming in the pool and Dave was there, and I don't think either of us were talking. It was just like kind of a quiet night. And I was swimming in the pool, and then from up above us, like a little too close, we heard like the old-fashioned camera sound they would use in a movie where it's like, "Ka-chink." And I stopped swimming and looked up, and we just heard a door shut.
Yeah.
And it was horrifying for some reason.
Yeah, somebody was clearly taking pictures
Someone was
of
very
you in the
clearly-
pool.
Yes. And they just left. The second they realized that we heard it, they just left immediately. It was very, very funny and kind of horrifying.
Yeah, we laughed pretty hard.
Yeah, that was very weird. It was like, I can't even do it. It's like the sound effect you would hear it. Yeah, it was like the sound effect you'd hear in a movie for a camera going off.
Yeah, that was super funny. We laughed really hard.
Yeah.
I vividly remember that.
Yes. That hotel thing you were talking about reminded me of that. Like, oh, someone's watching me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was very weird. That was a weird night. Then I got that text from that girl I never talked to that went to high school with us. Do you remember that? She was like, "Hey, I'm also in San Francisco. Do you want to go to a club?" And I was like, "We literally never spoke, but yes. Yes, I will." Man. What was that weird building they called the Death Star we went to? That was like a bar with like a big round window.
Oh, yeah, that was fun.
They called it the Death Star, the people we were with, and it looked kind of like that window the Emperor sits in front of at the end of Jedi. But it was like a huge bulbous window, like something you'd see on like a planetarium or something.
Right.
It was a cool bar. I don't know what that building was. It was a super cool window.
Yeah, that was fun. The secret Dave Raposa stream. Yeah. Imagine if you found a stream of you on the computer from like a few feet away.
Be very good.
Wait
Like a ceiling cam on my third floor watching me, just unlisted on YouTube.
That's me.
Yeah.
Hey, that's me. Speaking of that's me, everybody should go watch Corey's from Conor O'Malley.
Oh, I gotta finish that. I didn't finish it yet. Remember, everybody, if you got someone who has a boring life and they wish more stuff happened, it's very simple to make their life more exciting. You just take a bunch of photographs of them from a distance and then put them in an envelope and leave them on their doorstep. Their life will get a whole lot more interesting. You just don't tell them it was you.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
Or you just write everything you know about them. Really personal stuff that only you guys know.
Yeah.
And leave it with the photos. And then when they confront you, like the only person who knows this is you, let's go. Yeah, likewise. What's happening right now? We have to do something. And then reveal to them at the end of your adventure what it was all about. Enriching their life with fun experiences.
We should do that. It's unfortunate because the only person I could do this to is you, and you would know it's a bit.
I know.
But I want to do that movie thing of like, just walk in and go, "Hello, Dave." You're like, "Hey, Dan." You go, "Tell me something that only you would know about our friendship." Okay, I want to do that meme scene with somebody. See if I can not laugh. I need to know it's you I'm talking to. And not one of them. Can I ask you a favor? No questions. You just have to do this one favor for me, okay? Tell me something about our friendship that only you would know. No questions. Okay. If anyone calls
What was that all about? Nothing, man. Nothing, dude.
Everything's good.
Are you alright? Is the family alright? You guys safe? You know?
When they show up, don't tell them I was here, okay? It'll just make things worse for you guys.
If he shows up, he's not me. That's all I want to say.
This is the last time you're ever going to see me, man. If you ever see me again, it's not me. Okay? He's going to say he's me, but it's not.
It's that short story with the kid in the bed.
Which
The
one?
bedtime one. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No,
Yeah.
I don't.
Wait, do you know or you don't?
I don't know. I know the actual short story, The Doppelganger, from like the 1800s. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's the one of the little kids in bed, and then he says, "Dad, can you look under my bed? Make sure there's no monsters." And he looks under the bed, and his son's under the bed, and says, "Dad, there's somebody in my bed."
Oh, I've never heard this. That's very good.
Yeah.
That's excellent. So what do you do if that happens to you? If it's Axel, and then you look under the bed and it's Axel?
I don't know. That's pretty scary. It's a
Yeah.
pretty scary short story.
Yeah, now that you have kids, it hits a different way.
I think I saw that on like that. There was like a, I don't know if it was a Reddit thing or something. I don't know. There was like a short story competition thing or something. And I was like, that's a pretty good one.
SCPs? Was it an SCP?
I don't know, but that one I thought was really good.
There's some very good SCP stuff. There's also some extremely horrible SCP stuff, but
the level of like, you know, like super concise storytelling, it's difficult.
I was really
Yeah.
impressed by that guy who did. You saw the thing like a couple years ago where the guy made the Doom wad, and he pretended it was actually made in 1994. He's like, "Oh, this Doom wad my friend made before he died." It's called
What
like
was
My
it, the
House.
House.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that
that
one's
was
awesome.
super cool. Super impressive.
Like the depth to it is crazy.
Yeah.
I thought
It's
that one was
weird.
actually pretty old, or was it not?
I don't know where the meme ends and the truth begins with that one, because there's so many layers to the thing. I can't tell what's. I legitimately can't tell what's part of the bit.
Okay, yeah, because I thought it was actually like old, and people were like, "Oh, there actually is way more to this than we thought."
Yeah, and I want to believe that, but everything else in it is done so well that I don't know if that's just part of the meta story.
Right. Yeah, I have no idea. I didn't actually.
Which
look
says a
into it.
lot. Yeah. It's weird. I like this weird new genre of like the subtle horror stuff where it's like the back rooms and things.
Right, and like dead internet theory. and
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah, this, I don't know what to call it. It's like a feeling based horror. That feeling of like, I don't know, like sometimes when you'd get in the hallway going into the mall from the back entrance, you'd have that feeling of like, I'm gonna walk extra fast. I don't want to be in here anymore.
Well, liminal spaces.
Yeah, like capturing that and making it a genre is really interesting.
I find it interesting too that like a lot of younger people are into that sort of thing, and it has a similar feeling of like you know, it's like how we weren't living in the 80s, right? It's
Mhm.
like we weren't like having a childhood during the 80s, but like we have some like weird heightened fantasy version of what it must have been like.
True.
It's like that's kind of what the liminal spaces thing feels like to me. It's like
Right.
a fantasy version of like the 90s and like early 2000s.
Yeah, it's true because I guess people wouldn't be going to malls. They like that's like a very alien feeling now. Like just a huge open space that's also closed in.
Yeah, like things that feel, it's sort of like when you listen to like I think about it in the same way of like movies and like things like Fallout using like old timey music to seem spooky.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like if you lived during that time, you're just like,
Yeah.
that's just the fucking music.
You're just like, oh, this is my favorite song.
Yeah. It's like I think about it like that, sort of.
Is that I don't want to set the world on fire? Turn it up. Great song.
Like it's interesting what like new generations find scary
Right.
about like things that were normal.
Have you watched Late Night with the Devil yet?
No.
I haven't either. Everyone says it's great. I really liked the new Hellraiser. By new, I mean the one that came out a few years ago. But I finally watched it.
Mm-hmm.
They did such a good angle with it.
I still haven't watched it.
Making the main character a drug addict is like, why wasn't that always the case? Like, it's so perfect. It's like unreliable narrator, pleasure, pain intertwined. Like everything about the Cenobites works with
Well, they did that before, right?
Not like this, not like a heroin junkie who's like going to die. Like they really lean into it. It's not like the guy in the first one where he's like, I do drugs and I'm a sex maniac and I want to live forever, so Cenobites. Shout out to Pete Morbacher who got the design Cenobites.
I want to see more movies about just dudes avenging their brothers being put in wheelchairs by karate masters.
Whoa.
You know what I mean?
Which one did you see recently that was like that made you want to see more of them?
Well, I haven't. I'm saying that that's like an
Oh.
old, like 80s idea.
I thought you were saying you saw one recently and you were like, more of this. Yes.
Just like, you're never going to be my son. You're not Japanese.
Mm.
Yeah, but I'm going to try.
I'm gonna do karate till you accept me.
I'm going to do karate until I'm Japanese.
Yeah. Remember, you can't do karate till you're Japanese, but you can do karate till you're basically Japanese.
That's
And
like
maybe
that's the plot of Bloodsport, right? I
Yeah,
can't remember.
literally. Yeah.
Is it Bloodsport or is it which one is that? Where he's like
It's one of them.
goes to the house of the kid that
I
was
think
killed.
it's Bloodsport. Let's do
Teach me.
process of elimination.
You're not Japanese.
It's not hard target. It's not cyborg. Just process of
great.
elimination.
Cyborg is the ultimate guilty pleasure.
Yes. Cyborg is the ultimate. We don't have enough money to make a movie. Let's make a movie.
Oh man, I mean, come on, nailing Van Damme to a cross.
Yes.
Give me more of that.
They're like, we have enough money for exactly one cool special effects shot, so put all of that into the girl's robot head opening up, and then, I don't know, film the rest of it in the junkyard. Go out in the field, go to Goodwill and find some old clothes, put them on the guys and make it feel Mad Maxy.
That movie rules.
Yeah, it's great. Why? I like the paint.
I like this. I think about that all the time.
Mm-hmm. With that, my favorite part of that is the matte painting of the bridge that's over that. The world doesn't even look like it's doing that bad. Like, the matte painting doesn't go extreme enough to feel like a post-apocalypse. It just feels like, I don't know, like maybe they cut some public funding. or something. Like it doesn't feel. It just doesn't feel anything like what they're going for. It's just kind of a nice painting of a bridge.
I enjoy it though.
It's great.
I do that all the time, by the way. I know that it doesn't register to anybody, but like I always think, even if I don't say it, I think in my head, I'm like, today's a beautiful day. Like, look at the clouds, whatever. Like, I love my life. I like this world. Like I do that all the time. It's like just a genuine positive feeling I have.
Also, sorry if you guys hear something in the background occasionally that sounds like a toilet flushing. What
Oh
that
my
is?
god, is a ghoul loose?
What that is the air conditioning system I put in my house has a feature where if it gets too humid, occasionally it'll flush all the water it sucks out of the air in my house down a tube. There you go.
You and the rats drink it up.
Yeah, I mean, drink it up. That sweet rat water.
Sweet rot.
Sweet rat, yeah. I still can't believe. I took one sip and I was like, there's like an iron or something in this, and spit it out. They were actually drinking it. Months.
It's literally like Soylent Green.
Dude.
There's rats in the water.
Yeah. Like when they took the cap off it, was there like a Beetlejuice laugh that came out like, like a big bloated rat in an interview?
rat.
Hey. As it tastes, toots. It's like all I can picture is a fucking Beetlejuice rat.
I'm guessing the rats were happy about it.
I mean, they were happy till they drowned.
I mean, it feels like a witch's curse, though.
It
honestly.
does. It does, actually.
It's like in a movie that would be the reveal, and everybody would start throwing up. Oh my god!
It feels like something that could have happened in Hereditary, like to the family.
Yes.
Like it's subtle enough that maybe the cult did it with like magic.
Yeah, like they've been drinking rat water for the whole movie.
Yeah, and it's like a subtle reference to like a plague or something, like an A24, like very subtle removed reference to something very intelligent.
But in reality, it's just what your parents are doing.
Exactly.
Just drinking rat water.
I mean, to be fair, my parents' life is basically an A24 horror movie. Essentially.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Your dad just has the worst luck of any
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Your dad has curse luck.
As far as I know, my dad's never tried to kill anybody, but he's scarier than the dad in The Shining.
That's true.
Yeah. Like legit. Like the things he's done that I know he's done are
Well,
scarier.
it's
than anything.
scarier because in The Shining, the place is doing it to him.
Yes.
And in your life, it's just what your
My dad-
It's
My
just-
dad does it to places.
It's just
The
him.
place doesn't do it to him. Yeah.
It's just him. He's The Shining.
Mhm.
He's the room.
It's very funny to think about that. It's
Yeah.
just an actual nightmare Stephen King character.
Yeah.
Kim didn't believe me that I have a cousin named Shandy.
Oh.
Give me a better white trash name than Shandy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
What a name.
Literally naming your fucking daughter after a beer and lemonade mixture.
They are great, though, aren't they?
They are. Maybe that's why he named her that. I get it, man.
I literally brought like imported German beer to a party with like Sprite and just did half and half.
Mm-hmm.
It was beautiful. It's a beautiful drink.
Oh my god, I had a This was months ago. I had such a good. Someone brought like a couple kegs of like actual fancy beer to a party, and one of them was this sour, this like blueberry sour that was so. I actually really like sours. I thought I
Yeah,
just
I
hated
do.
most beer, but I really like sours. I haven't had alcohol in like a year.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about it. It's not
I
like
just realized that.
I just
I
get high.
definitely haven't had alcohol since I started this 80-pound weight loss thing. That was 8 months ago.
Yeah,
I think it's been at least a year since I've had a drink.
that's good.
Now I sound like the dad in The Shining. Been over a year since I had a drink. Dave. You got a cousin named Shandy. Huh.
You've always been the guy who loses 80 pounds here.
That's good. Just doing that, gaining weight and losing weight forever as a ghost.
Yeah, yeah.
That's great.
So,
We hired a guy a few years ago to lose 80 pounds here, and he did it, but he killed his daughters in the process and then blew his brains out. What?
that's the weight he lost.
Yeah. The
His
real
daughter.
weight he lost was those willful children.
Yeah. They complain too much. Okay. I'm gonna hop off here.
I don't have a note to end on. There we go, yeah.
Thanks everybody for hanging out. This has been cool. I like the way it's coming out. Yeah. Appreciate you. And I'll talk to you next time. Later, everybody. Have a good night.
Everyone.